The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. And they ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm about wow, you can hear from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome back to Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by Belly Up Sports Media Network. I am your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellow host, Aaron Admire, Steve Johnson. Just want to kick the show off saying congratulations to Admire, the newly engaged gentleman over here, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a big week for me. We closed on a house Friday, and I've had a ring in my safe for a couple months. I just been waiting for the right time, and I was like, you know what? We closed on a house today. I'm gonna do it today. While everything's good, we're flying high. I'm just gonna bust it out. So
nice.
She said yes, of course.
I would hope that would be the result. It would have been really awkward for me bringing that up. If
it would have been weird as shit that we closed on a house together, but then she said no to marrying me.
Yeah, man. So has this house always been in the works?
We've been looking for a house because she lives like 30 miles north of me. We've been looking for the last 6 months, and every house we went and looked at, like something's been wrong or it just wasn't right, and like just nothing's worked. And then out of nowhere, a friend of my mom's was like, "Hey, I know somebody that's getting ready to sell their house. It's not on the market. They haven't went to a realtor. Go check out their house before they talk to anybody." We went and checked it out, and it was perfect for us. I mean, it's huge in-ground pool. Like I don't know if you've seen the picture on my Facebook, like big in-ground pool, crazy shit. And we made them an offer, and they were like, "All right." And it moved quick. Like I always heard that like the house buying process was long. Like it all started like 2 weeks ago, and we closed Friday.
Nice. Congratulations. Now, right now you're in St. Joe, right?
I'm in Platte City now. I'm moving back to St. Joe.
Oh, you're in Platte City, so you're moving to St. Joe. How far mileage wise is that?
It's about 30 miles north. So it'll be about 45 minutes from like downtown Kansas City. 45
minutes downtown. And how far is the place in St. Joe from where she's at right now?
It's 10 minutes from her house now, so she's not moving very far, but it makes sense for me to move up there because she owns her own business up there. My parents live up there. Devin lives up there. Her kids live up there. Like, and I work from home. And so it makes sense for me to move up there. So I'm just moving up there.
Hey man, you're lucky they're not calling you back into work. They're about to call us back into work, unfortunately. But good thing I only live 10 minutes away, so it is what it is. But yeah man, congratulations. So you have a date set?
No, I mean we know what we're gonna do. We always talked about going to Colorado, going up in the mountains, and just getting married with a couple friends and everything, and then come back and have a big reception and invite everybody to that. But it'll probably be a year or two.
Well, yeah, take your time. You don't want to rush it. And I think less is more when it comes to weddings, because you got people that do these big extravagant weddings, cost tens of thousands of dollars, and then 50% of marriages end in divorce anyway. So you pay for this big ass wedding and it doesn't even work out.
Yeah. And like she's been married before. I've been married before. We did it big on our first weddings. And now it's just like, we think that way. We're like, why spend all that money? Like, let's just do something together and save money.
Yeah. I mean, if y'all love each other, what does a big grand gesture of a wedding do? Like it's a waste of money. And I'd rather like save that money, like you said, on a house you just bought or vacation or a honeymoon. And
Yeah, exactly. Because when you get married the first time, it's a big show for everybody else. It ain't for you. The second time, it's just for you. It's like fuck everybody else.
exactly. So, like I said, congratulations, admire. What's going on your end, Steve?
Nothing much, man. Being steady, like I said, nothing new. We saw exciting fights last weekend, which was, boxing. But other than that, nothing new.
Are you guys under a blizzard warning?
Really, it's a blizzard? That's crazy. I thought the weather was finally heating back up. I rarely check the weather. I need to be more of an adult when it comes to the weather. I just go with the flow. But there's a blizzard warning?
Yeah, man. I got to bring up the weather every episode. Freaking, I woke up this morning, 55 degrees at 5 o'clock this morning. And right now I'm under a blizzard warning. We're supposed to get 3 inches of snow in a 2-hour window. Like it's just supposed to dump snow.
Man, what day is that supposed to hit?
Tonight, like midnight.
Is that supposed to hit mid-Missouri too?
I don't know which way it's moving, but I know I'm under a blizzard warning.
Yeah, it's supposed to snow tomorrow. Damn it.
Damn, I had no clue. Thanks to Admire.
This is 76% chance, and it says snowing. This is crazy. I thought we were like in the clear because it's been, like you said, it's been 60s recently. I think it might have even hit 70 this past weekend.
And it's going to be back in the 70s next week, but it's going to dump snow tonight.
5 a.m. Yeah, 80% chance it's going to be snowing.
Yeah, it's going to snow like midnight to 3 a.m. here, and you're a couple hours away, so that's about right. You're going to get it a couple hours after me.
And then it's supposed to snow until 11. It's going to stop at around 12, and it's supposed to rain after that. Is that enough for it to stick? I don't know.
The temperature's going to drop, so that's what's going to suck because it's been raining since 6 o'clock this morning here, so it's going to freeze that rain and then snow on top of it.
That's awful. Well, it's been snowing a lot more than it has in other seasons I've been here. This is going to be like the 4th time I think it snowed. 2 times it stuck, 1 time it didn't, but I'm over it. Luckily, spring is around the corner, so hopefully this is the last of it. But let's get into actually talking about MMA. Like we always do on these preview shows, we'll talk about stories inside or outside of the cage. And like we were discussing before we started recording, it's been a slow news week. We had the fight night weekend this past weekend. I don't know if y'all got a chance to watch it. I won't get too in-depth in it. Where Cop was fighting. He got a big win in the main event. And who was in the co-main event? Can you recall off the top of your head, Steve, who was in that co-main event? He got a big TKO win as well.
Yeah, I can't recall.
So Cop beat Asu Almabayev in the main event, and it was a TKO. Cop looked good, and they're saying it's crazy because he's ranked number like 6, and they're already talking about him getting the title shot against Pantoja next. So
I think that was his debut too, Pantoja.
What? The champion, Pantoja?
Cape's debut was against Pantoja.
Oh, really? So it's gonna be a rematch?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and then the TKO you were talking about was Brundage.
Yeah, Cody Brundage got it over Julian Marquez, and both of it, like I said, if nobody has anything else to do, you could catch up on that. But besides that, it wasn't too remarkable of a fight night card. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting seeing Cop get the next title shot, the flyweight. A lot of those flyweight fights sneak under the radar and end up being pretty good. But as far as other news goes, me and Admire talked about this a couple weeks ago. We hadn't had a show since then. Ilia Topuria vacates the featherweight title, and he's looking to go up to lightweight to face Islam Makhachev. And now it's going to be Volkanovski versus Lopez for the vacant belt. at UFC 315. So I hadn't done a lot of digging into Topuria's reasoning behind this. Have you heard any particular reason why he wanted to vacate the belt, Amire?
Weight cut. Said the weight cut's too hard on him, and
What?
he don't want to deal with it anymore. And I mean, for some reason, Dana White agreed. I mean, it didn't make sense to me. As soon as he won the belt, he was already talking about moving up. It seemed like it was like a predetermined or premeditated thing. I don't think to me, from the outside looking in, I don't think he had a problem making weight, but that's what I've been reading.
That's crazy. Did he not? I don't think he defended the belt yet, has he?
I don't think so. Let me pull up his record to see where he's at.
Yeah, he did. He did defend it against Holloway.
Yeah, beat Volk and then against Holloway, but
So I mean, he defended it once.
He's been bouncing back and forth in different weight classes. He was in featherweight for a while, and then he went to lightweight 2022, and then went to featherweight again in 2022. So it looks like he's been bouncing around, but maybe he feels more comfortable not cutting weight. I don't know.
So is this a good move or bad move for him?
I don't know, man. Like, he's having the title, you would think he would get an instant title shot up there, but that's a big jump in competition in size going straight after Makhachev. You know, yeah. That's a big step in competition.
And you saying that, I figured that you wouldn't go in upper class for no reason. He must have some experience in the gym to where his power must transfer when he spars lightweights. Yeah, you know, he has amazing boxing, and we haven't for real seen him flaunt his grappling and wrestling, but they say he's very good at it. He must know something to want to go up in weight.
I don't know, man. Like am I saying, that's a big jump. Lightweight is probably the toughest division in the sport. And it's not like he's piggybacking on getting like a transitional champion. Islam was number 1 on the pound for pound rankings. So if he loses against him, then what? You just middle around in lightweight and hope you get back towards the title shot, or do you maybe try to go back down to featherweight? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Topuria and you get an instant title shot against Makhachev and you lose, you're going to pump the brakes and be like, okay, maybe that weight cut wasn't so bad. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, Topuria is a beast, but lightweight is just a murderer's row in that top 10. Like, Topuria can throw hands, he can do a lot, but, I mean, you got Gaethje up there, Poirier, Dan Hooker, Chandler, Gamrot. Like, you got a whole row of dudes that could give him problems, and have a size advantage on him.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Steve.
No, I was about to say, yeah, I agree. I'm just thinking about it. The Gaethjes and Fiziev, thinking that he would be just as big as Gaethje, and he seems like one of the biggest fights. He started fighting him, and Gaethje was, looked like a weight class bigger. And I don't like to say Topuria isn't a big guy, so I can only imagine fighting those guys that are 5'8", 5'9", a little bigger build, which I think, Islam, is up there as far as maybe size and compared to Topuria.
You know what fight I like looking over this? I would like to see Topuria against Sarukian.
Sarukian? No. That might not be a bad fight. Yeah, I'm down for that. But as far as Topuria goes, one thing might be a silver lining, though. The lightweight division is kind of in like a transition period, though. So maybe he was thinking in there, like that's where his mindset was in, because you're kind of seeing like the top dogs kind of lose more lately, like you saying Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier. So maybe he saw a window in that regards, because then we just see Max Holloway sleep Justin Gaethje, and Max Holloway is a natural featherweight, so maybe that's what Topuria is thinking. Am I?
It could be, and I think Topuria, his style really is a lot like Dustin Poirier. So I think they would probably have a pretty good fight, stylistically. So it could be his window in to just get right into that top.
Yeah, and I don't think he would have much of a problem with like the bigger names that we already seen do the song and dance, like the Poiriers and the Justin Gaethje's. I think he, like you said, he probably have maybe more of a rough time with like some of the guys, like the Gamrots and guys like that, guys without the bigger names that would maybe even try to grapple with him, and I don't know if it would be worth it, but his team's probably seeing something that we aren't seeing, and I'm not a fighter, so I can't imagine how excruciating it is to lose those last couple pounds when you're already pretty lean to begin with. But with those nutritionists and stuff, and we've seen it done before, can't you just restructure the way you diet and whatnot and train to just make yourself naturally thinner? Because then we see with Jose Aldo, because everybody was clamoring for him to move up to lightweight for all that time, and he did the opposite. He went down a weight class and was able to make the weight regularly in the bantamweight. So
yeah, there was a lot of kind of advancements in the science behind the weight loss and weight cutting, and they've changed the ways that it's done and how hard it is. So I don't know. I think it's probably more of a game plan thing. They see that his path to staying at the top is probably better suited at lightweight.
yeah.
Plus you can think about also the Volkanovski. He went up and did pretty well the first fight, and Topuria, Ilia, beat Volkanovski with ease. So maybe he's just factoring in his wins with people who competed in lightweight.
Yeah, well, that's why the fights happen in the cage. So we'll see how it works out for him. But I would, like we said earlier, it's a murderer's row up there. But I know something came across your news feed, Emma, as far as news.
Colby Covington, man. It's been a slow week in news, and I was just trying to find something to talk about, and this thing popped up. You'll be able to find it if you just look up Colby Covington if you want to see something funny. Everybody knows Colby Covington talks shit on everybody, just puts on this persona of, the bad guy. And for some reason, there's a camera following him around, and he's at a gym, and he pops around a corner, and he sees somebody. I don't know exactly who it is, but he ducks out like he's scared, and he takes off the other way and goes up some stairs. And then when he gets upstairs, he's like looking around to make sure there's not somebody up there that he wants to avoid. Like, he was scared, dude. I don't know who it was, but it's funny if you watch it.
You saw who's down there? The ungrateful motherfucker who we used to feed. I think we should just go fucking train around him, actually.
Like, it's just kind of proof that he's not who he says he is. He's not this anytime, anywhere guy.
Oh, man. So the story says he almost bumped into former teammate Themba Gorimbo. Are you familiar with that name, Steve?
No, I'm not. But now that MR brought the story up, I did overlook that story, and I saw the video. He was downstairs. He peeked, and then he said something I can't recall. And then he went upstairs and like eased before like half his body was up the steps. And then who knows? I don't even think he went up there, but I think he knows something, or he's just not liked. And what do you call it? PI or IP place?
Is the Performance Institution?
Yeah,
that's
PI.
been bumped into. That's where he bumped into him at. Oh yeah, so Themba, that's the guy. I don't know if y'all follow the story where the Rock saw a story online, and I think he hooked his family up with like a house or money or something like that.
Yeah, the guy from Zimbabwe.
Yeah, yep, from Zimbabwe. I didn't know they were teammates. Or the
I
former
think they're
teammates.
former teammates or something, and Colby probably talked shit on him or something. But I mean, the guy's not like a high-ranked fighter or something, but that just shows you the type of person Colby Covington is. He talks shit when there's a camera around or when there's an audience around or when he has protection. But when it's just him, he'll duck somebody that's not even known. Like, get real, dude.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the video right now, and I'll probably integrate it whenever we post the episode on YouTube and whatnot. But why has he been recording in the first place? That's what I want to know.
One of the comments I seen on the video I watched, one of the comments said that somebody asked that, and the reply to it was it could have been filming for The Ultimate Fighter or something. I don't know if he's a coach or if he's an assistant coach or something, but they mentioned something about maybe filming for The Ultimate Fighter.
I could have swore it was supposed to be two retired dudes that were filming this. Oh, maybe he's like an assistant coach, maybe for the Ultimate Fighter. So I can't remember. I think it might have been DC maybe coaching this season. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's retired dudes that are coaching the season, and it doesn't make sense because usually you try to set up the coaches to fight each other. And I don't get what I think it might have been DC and Chael maybe coaching against each other.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and I think Chael and Colby are friends, so maybe Chael brought him in as an assistant coach.
I mean, we've seen this behavior from Colby time in and time out. Like you said, he always talks big shit when the cameras are on, but I've heard plenty of stories from people like how mild-mannered he is in real life. Like one of my best friends, he bumped into him at a club in Miami, and he was just talking to him like a normal dude, and he said Colby didn't have any shit talk at all. Like we seen he was out in the restaurant at in Miami as well when he bumped into Jorge, and Jorge confronted him, and Colby was trying to say, yeah, that's my other persona, and Jorge, put the beats on him allegedly.
For Doom too, Fabricio threw a boomerang at his face.
Yeah, I remember that. That was one of the first times somebody went after Colby.
They threw a boomerang at him?
Yeah, Fabricio did for those Brazilian comments, I believe.
Oh, yeah. All the Brazil filthy animals. Shit, did he get pretty nicked up from that boomerang? That shit's pretty heavy.
I mean, it threw at some speed. I ain't gonna lie. Like he chucked it and flicked it, and that thing hit him in the face.
Somebody recorded this as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Colby was. I think Colby was waiting at a bus stop or something, or waiting on the UFC bus to pick him up at the hotel and take him to the venue or something. But I think there's video of it out there.
That's crazy. I mean, I get why he wants to have this persona, try to sell tickets, even though it hasn't translate to him as far as pay-per-view buys. Maybe it's translating to him towards, clicks, his following he has on social media. But, this ain't WWE, even though he's modeling his promos after that. But some people might not like the shit you say, even though you're saying you're selling fights, and they have to see you in real life.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the Sean Strickland thing. Like, you're getting people to tune into your fights. You're getting the people that like you to tune in and see you win. You're getting the people that don't like what you're saying to tune in to see you lose. But the point comes where you're not backing it up at all, and you're getting smoked, and then nobody wants to see you fight. Colby's last outing, I think, what was it? Buckley took him out in 3 rounds. And his showings before that wasn't that good. So, I mean, he's probably, on the decline now, big time.
And I don't know, like the rhyme or reason on how the shit talking translates to actual pay-per-view buys. I think it's just like lightning in a bottle because you'll see Floyd Mayweather, even though a lot of people said his fighting style was boring, but he would talk to people, like you said, a lot of people will tune in to watch him lose, even though some people tune in to watch him win. But his actually translated into pay-per-view buys. He was the box office king, translated for Conor. His shit talking translated to views. But you don't see it translate for guys like Colby Covington and Sean Strickland. Like it hasn't been translating to, pay-per-view buys necessarily. So I don't know like why.
Because they don't have the wins to back it up, though.
Yeah.
True. Maybe they didn't have a long enough streak, but Sean Strickland was the champion. So he won.
Yeah. And I think that's why his next fight after that had a lot of views. And then his next fight after that had a lot of views, but then I think it kind of went downhill after that because, what was his next fight after he won? DDP, and then Paulo Costa, and then DDP again.
So, yeah, he lost the belt against DDP. And UFC is funny with releasing like their pay-per-view buys sometimes. So, who knows how many pay-per-view buys that fight had? I could try to look it up really quickly. I'm not going to spend too much time harping on it, but I don't know. I think because I will say maybe you have to have like the fighting style to back up the shit talking. But like I said, Floyd Mayweather later on in his career, a lot of people forget he was getting stops when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, but when he was going up in weight classes, it was a lot more defensive and sometimes it's trash talking it and back up what you saw actually in the ring. But I don't know. Like you said, maybe they didn't have a long enough streak where they could keep building people wanting to watch them and see that downfall in Floyd's case. And Conor, he had an exciting fighting style, so maybe that's why people tune in with his. So I don't know. This clown behavior by Colby Covington, and did he retire? Like I hadn't heard anything since he lost his last fight. Am I?
No, I haven't heard anything out of him really. That's the only thing that's popped up about him. I mean, I don't know what Buckley's rank, but Buckley beat him last. So I mean, I imagine Covington's fallen way down the ladder. He probably doesn't want to be down there, so he'll be clamoring for another title shot, but he ain't gonna get it.
Okay, so Sean Strickland, his defense where he lost against DDP, had 500,000 pay-per-view buys. That's not bad, but that's not setting the world on fire. That's solid, but it's not setting the world on fire. So I don't know. And that'll take us to a topic that I want to talk about in a second, actually, because this weekend we have UFC 313, and this is coming live from Las Vegas. They always seem to do these Las Vegas fights in March. They always do March, and they always do for fight International Fight Week, and then they'll end it off in a year in Vegas. So they usually hit Vegas 3 times a year. This is from the T-Mobile Center, and this is headlined by Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev. But like I said, to tie it into what we just talked about, this is the second year going into this show, and it seems like the calendar year 2023 and the calendar year 2024, and now we're in 2025. It seems like the fight quality for these cards, they're just basically throwing anything at the wall and hoping it sticks as far as the name value in it. I feel like the star power is kind of diminished every year we've been doing this show. So do y'all think UFC has a problem with creating new stars, I guess, in this TKO era? Because these cards have been kind of abysmal the past few months.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when we were doing the show leading up to UFC 300, every card was stacked. Like we were like, what are they going to do for 300 if they're putting this card together with this many people? Yeah. And then it seems like once UFC 300 hit, there's only been a couple bangers that were good top to bottom. The rest have been, the main event's good and maybe the co-main's good, and then the rest is not that great. You know, it used to be you had a lot of big names even on the prelims, or at least a big name high, you know, on the main prelim fight. But it's gotten really watered down now. I mean, the one this weekend, the main card's pretty good. It's got recognizable names top to bottom, but I mean, I don't know anybody that's clamoring to watch Bobby Green fight Mauricio Rufy, you know, like that in itself should have been a prelim fight. Curtis Blades is headlining the prelims against a guy that isn't even ranked. Your number 5 heavyweight against a guy isn't ranked. Who put that together? Like, there's a lot of questionable matchups that have been happening lately too that I don't really understand. So I don't know if there's something that's changed up with the matchmaking, if, you know, the UFC kind of changing ownership and everything merging, you know, I don't know. It just seems something's different since that UFC 300 era. It seems like we're in a different era.
Yeah, because I remember that I think it was a Miami card right before 300. It was pretty stacked. I think that was MVP's debut. I have to go back and look exactly. But yeah, like you said, those cards leading up to her are pretty stacked. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, not only that, you just notice some of these fight night cards might have better fighters as far as like popularity, and then the next pay-per-view is, you know, shitty. Like I said, they need to rearrange something. Stop putting on these fight nights that have pretty good fighters, and then the next week you have a pay-per-view, and you know your prelims are pretty weak, and you know you want to keep people's eyes on the TV, you know, leading up to the main card. And then sometimes even the main card, you know, has not as exciting fights as it should, especially before a fight night, where you know sometimes they'll put a good fight night on.
Well, I definitely think the fight night cards have been watering down the main cards, because you'll have somebody headlining a Apex card like we did last weekend. That could have been a card that had been like on the lower side of things on this card. And then the week before that, you had a Cejudo versus Song. That they did that in arena in Washington. But if that wasn't headlining the fight night, that could have been maybe put on this 313 card, and you know, so on and so forth. But definitely, I know they have their TV deal is coming up, so I know this won't happen just because how much money they make off of like the money made on these fight night shows, as far as sponsorships and all of that, and you know the logistics behind the TV deals. But I don't know, if I were like one of the higher ups, and I'm sure the ratings are coming back where, you know, they're not setting the world on fire with these ratings coming back for some of these fight nights that are just on just to be on. Like, why can't you cut it down where you're only having one fight night a month and one pay-per-view a month, and you know, make some of these pay-per-views worth watching again, instead of, I think this stretch, they think they're having like a show every week for the next 3 weeks. It started with the fight night 2 weeks ago, which is crazy.
Yeah, like I would rather, instead of doing a half-ass numbered card and a half-ass fight night, they should do a bigger card. Like, do a starting at noon on Saturday all the way to midnight, combine them, make it $150 pay-per-view, and just stack the shit out of it instead of so many watered down cards. It'd be such a better product.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I did a deep dive when I was doing the research a couple months ago or so, because I was trying to figure out like why these cards so watered down. It went from, I think I was talking to Steve about it. It went from having like total shows, including the fight nights, like back in like 2010 and 2011, it had a total of like 20 cards for that whole year, and now it's up to like 50 or 60 cards in a year, which is fucking crazy. I like to see them get back down to having like 20-something cards a year. Like you said, just stack the pay-per-views. I know they have more fighters than they did back then, but still, you just stack the pay-per-views more, and make people actually tune in. But I doubt it'll go backwards. Everything's moving forwards, especially with TKO being in the driver's seat now as far as the ownership. So,
and
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it seems like it to you guys, but to me, like back in the day, in the 2000s, the early 2010s, every fighter fought at least once a year. Now it seems like there's certain guys that you don't see but once every couple years. Like that's why you had such good cards, because every fighter was like almost guaranteed to fight once a year, and you had less cards, so they were stacked like that. But then you get certain fighters now that you don't see for a couple of years. So
yeah, I was
I mean,
sometimes injury
I know
plays
it's injury, but like get some of these guys out there that want to fight, like the Diaz brothers, they're not the best, but they're entertaining to watch and everybody wants to see them, but they would go years between fights.
They're really like the first guys I seen like taking such a long break. And I guess they got the money, to stay on the sideline. But I remember back in the early 2000s, you say at least once a year. I remember you used to see them fight at least twice a year. Most fighters fight at least twice a year. And it's not like you said, sometimes you go by and not see him for a couple of years. Sometimes you don't even notice that they hadn't fought for a couple of years, but then you looked at it, you're like, damn, this motherfucker didn't fight since 2023.
Yeah. And then you got people like Alex Pereira that has fought several times in the last couple of years. So it can be done. So I don't know if it's a UFC matchmaking thing where they're not calling certain people up, or certain fighters are happy with the pay and they're not signing contracts to fight. I don't know what it is, but it just seems like that we get a lot of the same fighters that are fighting a lot, but then it's a lot of the same fighters that aren't fighting a lot. Like, this weekend, who do we have on this one? Like, who's it? Blades?
Yeah,
Curtis Blades. He's out there fighting all the time. But then you got other heavyweights that you don't see but once every year or two. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, as far as like the star power in it, like you said, some of the times it's the fighters not fighting as often as they should. But do you think, as far as creating kind of new stars in the UFC, you think it's lightning in a bottle, or you think the UFC has the actual ability to create new stars, or you think, like I said, you think it's just lightning in a bottle and there's no really formula to create new stars? And Meyer.
Yeah, I think it's lightning in the bottle, and that's what they do. Is once they see somebody have a glimpse of greatness, they start, putting all the chips on them. They did it with O'Malley. They've done it with, kind of with Paddy Pimblett. He hasn't made it all the way to the top yet, but they're putting a lot of hype into him. Alex has been, doing great in winning, so they're putting a lot into him. So if you show that glimpse of greatness, the UFC, catches that lightning in a bottle, and all bets on you. And, they kind of did it with Bo Nickel. I think after his last showing, they kind of slowed down, but they were on their way with Bo Nickel.
What do you think, Steve?
I definitely think that, like they say, you're only good as your last fight. So you have traction and you're securing wins. I definitely think they choose to fast track, or even, I wouldn't say protect, but make sure a fighter has a fight that is his level so he can build himself. Yeah, I agree. For example, Colby Covington, we barely see him fight every year and a half or two. I think certain fighters are okay financially as far as what they make outside the ring, and then can be steady. But then I think you got fighters, this is what all they do, and this is why you see them so frequent. Plus, some of them might be on a drive as far as a goal. Like Pierre, or seems like Ilia has a goal. But I think it just depends on the fighter.
So some of the fighters you named earlier, like a Bo Nickel or Paddy Pimblett, they're pretty popular within the MMA world. Like you said, they're budding stars as far as the MMA world goes. I think O'Malley, he broke through slightly mainstream, But do you think we'll see anybody as big on the mainstream level as Conor and Ronda Rousey that breaks through on like a mainstream level where your dad or your grandma might know them? You think we'll ever see a star like that again break out in the UFC?
Man, I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, it's it's a weird thing. Like, you have guys that are so good right now, like, Islam Makhachev, for example, probably one of the greatest fighters ever, and he's not going to be a household name. It could be because of, the language barrier and things like that, that he can't really have this social media presence, or, he's not getting put in American commercials, because of the language barrier. And that's part of the being a superstar. So, I mean, realistically, you got to have kind of a English speaking person that's at the top to get to that star level. And I don't know if you're going to find somebody that speaks English that's going to out wrestle one of these Dagestani dudes.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put Anderson Silva on the level of Ronda and Conor as far as mainstream level, but Anderson Silva got pretty mainstream, especially in the sports world. Maybe not your grandma or your dad. And I think he might have been an anomaly because he didn't speak English well during his prime, and he was pretty well known within the world of sports in general. And I put him, John Jones, and GSP all on that level, on that. And then I'll put Conor and Ronda on the level right above it where they broke through as far as being household names, as far as people that didn't really know MMA, they knew those people. But Steve, do you think we ever see a star as big as those two again in the sport of MMA? It's like Ronda and Conor.
I think so. It's just the person has to be assassin, in all areas. Plus, have the mouthpiece on the mic. Conor had that. For example, Israel could have had that, but he would say cringy things to where, what he said wouldn't resonate with everybody to say, ooh, or who is that guy? Everybody started rolling. Israel had a few moments, but he's not as slick and intelligent as as Conor. Because Conor would get in people's minds psychologically, and I think that's what fueled his shit talking.
And Conor got the big Floyd rub, so we had to take that into consideration. That put him on a different stratosphere. And Ronda was the first woman to really do it, so I think that's why she was so popular. And she was talking shit to kind of back it up until she ran into the Holly Holm wall. But it might just be lightning in the bottle. We might not see stars that get that big. Like Am said, unfortunately, it does. You have to break that language barrier to be popular as far as mainstream goes. So you have to be able to connect with the fans, and they have to be able to, understand what you say as far as promos go. So I think that English barrier is one factor.
Yeah,
and then
but
you have to win a lot too.
I think the one hope for there being somebody bigger than them, though, is MMA is still pretty young, as in a lot of the fighters that are current now, they haven't trained their whole lives. Like, they all got into it when they were teenagers, because that's kind of when MMA kind of started getting big. But you have kids now that I don't know if you know him from the Carl's group we're in, T. Samra. His son has been training boxing and MMA at the Diaz gym since he was like 5 years old. So you have a lot of kids out in the world now that have been training true MMA, not just wrestling or sambo or karate or something since they were little. You have true MMA kids now from a very young age. So somebody's going to burst on the scene one of these days for sure. It's a matter of time. We almost had Sage Northcutt if he would have been a better fighter. He had the looks, he had the personality, he was decent on the mic, he didn't talk shit, he was real respectful. Just if he would have been a better fighter, he was, not the best. So I think give it a few years, and one of these MMA kids that was raised on it, you'll see somebody break through.
I think to get somebody on like Conor or Ronda's level, it's going to be on accident. I don't think it's going to be, like I said, all lightning in the bottle. I think it's going to be somebody who's a big shit talker, somebody who's been winning a lot, and then it's going to be the other things. Just going to be something that happened on accident, whether they like go on like a big award show that's been watched by everybody, and they say something so absurd it just catches people's ears, and they just follow them afterwards, like almost like a Kanye moment where he got in front of the camera and said like George Bush doesn't care about black people, or when he interrupted Taylor Swift. It's gonna have to be something absurd like that, or it'll take somebody dating like somebody's biggest Taylor Swift, like a Kelsey, for them to like break through on the mainstream level. I think that's what's gonna have to happen.
Or, I mean, if Tom Aspinall and Jones do fight and Aspinall wins, I mean, that's going to catapult him up there and give him a real light. It's going to put him at a very high level. If he says some crazy shit or does something crazy in that moment while he's up there, that could make him, you know, one of the biggest.
I don't see, that's just not his personality to say something off the wall. And even if he does beat Jones, he has a chance to be as big as Jones. And Jones is pretty popular, but like I said, I don't know if you ask your dad or your grandmother if they knew who John Jones was, they might know them. Of course, a sports follower, if you ask like somebody who casually watches sports, I think they might know John Jones. But as far as like a household name, like it's still some people that, as far as who don't follow MMA at all, that don't know John Jones. So like if I think Aspinall could get as big as John Jones, but I'm just thinking about if somebody could get as popular as Conor McGregor.
Right.
You know, like I asked my mom, she knows who Conor McGregor is.
Yeah. I mean, and one of the big things that, you know, it's kind of cool to see that a lot of people are back to watching the Olympics. If you get somebody in the Olympics that's a wrestler or judo or something that does very well, that everybody's watching, and they transition to MMA, kind of like Ronda Rousey, that could be a way to catapult them into that stardom.
Yeah, that'd be another method, especially if some reason a lot of the Olympic cycle, they like to focus in on certain stars. If they were some reason focus on like a certain wrestler, or he has like a nice backstory on how he got there, and then he transitions to MMA, and he already has that Olympic rub, the whole world's following him, and then that'd be another way, like, you know, you get the rub from that. Like I said, it have to be like some type of thing like outside of actually winning in the sport of MMA. It have to be some outside factor like you and I just named for somebody to get catapulted in the superstar household level. And you know, we didn't see Conor coming, so maybe it happens in the next few years or so. But it'll definitely help, because some of these cars that they've been putting together, it's been lacking star power. But you know, that's why we're here though, to talk about the card that's happening this weekend. So we'll get started with the early prelims that's happening on this one. And this one is going down on Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and Fight Pass. I didn't know. I still have a Fight Pass subscription somehow, but I might be the only one. I don't really know people with Fight Pass subscriptions, but it's still showing stuff on there. To kick this one off, we have Jordan Ribeiro dos Santos facing Osman Diaz in the middleweight division. And in the featherweight division, we had Chris Gutierrez facing John Castaneda. And to cap this one off, we have in the featherweight division, Marion Santos versus Francis Marshall. And I'm not familiar. I'm familiar with Chris Gutierrez, but that's the only one. I'm not familiar with the rest of these fighters, and they do not have a Wikipedia page. So I'm gonna go off on a limb and saying a lot of these are probably their first fights in the UFC. So I don't know if y'all are familiar with any of these guys.
Yeah, just Gutierrez, but I mean that these could be the best fights of the night. You know, guys that are hungry looking to make a name.
Yeah. So, with a lot of these early prelims, if I don't really know the fighters on there, I'll look to see how the results happen, and then I'll go back and watch it if I hear it's like a fight of the night or it's a bunch of finishes on there. So that will continue to trend as far as that goes. But hopping into the prelims of this one, it's going to be on ESPN News. So familiar name, we have in the welterweight division, Alex Morono facing Carlos Leo. In the middleweight division, we have Bruno Ferreira facing Armin Petrosian. Flyweight division, we have Josh Van facing Roy Sarua, excuse me. And then to top this one off, like Admire was talking about earlier, in the heavyweight division, they slipped Curtis Blades down to headlining the prelims. He's facing Rizvan Kuniv to top that off. Man, what's going on with Curtis Blades? He can't even get on the main card now, Admire?
I don't know, man. Like this guy that he's fighting was on Dana White's Contender Series, but I didn't know that got you up there to fight the number 5 guy. I don't know if Curtis Blades pissed somebody off or what, but this is just kind of a weird matchup. I think Blades' last fight was also on the prelims. I can't remember who it was against, but I believe it was a prelim fight. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why he's kind of sitting in that spot right now.
Well, what's his record looking like lately? He lost against Aspinall. It wasn't his last fight. It might have been the fight before that.
Yeah, he did lose to Aspinall. I was thinking of the Almeida fight. Him and Jonathan Almeida, UFC 299, they were on the prelims.
Yeah. And then before that, he lost to Pavlovich.
Now, when's the last time he's won a fight?
He beat Almeida by a KO at 299. So in March 9th last year, so exactly a year ago, he won. He's only had one loss in that time.
I think they might be throwing a wild card as far as trying to get somebody just to replace Curtis, since he had so many tries at the championship, and he just lingers and doesn't get above that. So I think they might just be giving this dude a chance just to fill in a fight.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that they've had Blades in so many number 1 contender fights, and he finally got to fight for the interim. So I think they're ready for some fresh faces up there at the top instead of just cycling the same guys through.
And you said his win was last year that he beat Almeida?
Yeah. March 9th, 2024, UFC 299.
I don't know. He's been so close to cracking through, and then he'll just have a big loss after he'll like get a win and then he'll get a loss. Like so yeah, that Aspinall fight was his last fight. This was back in July. For some reason, I thought that it just seemed like such a long time ago, because I remember he did face him that one time and he got the fluke win with the knee injury. But then he lost to Pavlovich before the Almeida fight. And he lost to Lewis. So back in 2021, that was the pandemic era.
Yeah. And I think that was a number 1 contender fight. And then when you go back, he beat Mark Hunt and Overeem. And then I think him and Ngannou, that was like a number 1 contenders fight that he lost. So he's got up there. He falls back down. He gets like,
it was just crazy. He's got 5 losses, and none of the 5 losses were bad losses. I mean, I guess we have to look back and see how the X's and O's played out. He might have had bad strategy, but as far as name value, like he hasn't been losing to nobody.
Right. Yeah, I think every fight that he's lost has been a number 1 contender fight or a title fight.
Yeah. Lewis, Ngannou twice, Pavlovich and Aspinall. I know it's not on the main card, so we ain't predicting that, but I'll go off on them and say he probably win this fight, and then where he goes, like, what do you really do with him? Because you're not gonna jump to a title fight. So yeah, Curtis Blades is in an interesting position. But let's jump into the main card in this one, fellas. Going back to the last pay-per-view when we did our predictions, the end results had it where Admire is 5-5 on the year. I'm 6. Me and Steve are both 6-4, so all of us are pretty neck and neck going into this card this weekend. But kicking this card off in the lightweight division, we have Admire's favorite fighter, King Green, versus Mauricio Rufy. What say you, Admire? Who you got in this one?
Man, I know what's going to happen. Every time I bet against Bobby Green, he wins. Every time I bet on him, he loses. I bet with him, and Patty Pimblett smoked him. Like, I can't win with that guy. But I got to go with the odds makers on this one. They got Mauricio Rufy at a minus 500 favorite. Bobby Green's a plus 350 underdog. So I got to go with Mauricio on this one.
Mauricio doesn't have a, because we've talked about a Rufy fight. He still doesn't have a Wikipedia. Who did he beat?
I think he fought his biggest fight.
He had a pretty good knockout couple fights.
Oh yeah, he
ago.
beat Jan Top. He that was a unanimous decision, but that was on the Jones and Miocic fight when he
he knocked out Jamie Malarkey.
Yeah, that was on the Pantona Ursig fight. We talked about that. So he has a good record, and I'll take those odds as well. I'll go with Rufy as well. Who you got, Steve?
Same here. I'm gonna have to go with Rufy.
Vegas doesn't put out those numbers for no reason. That's a pretty wide odds. You said minus 500.
Yeah, they got him at a minus 500. That's a big difference.
Yeah, that's crazy. But moving right along in women's strawweight division, we have Amanda Lemos versus Yasmin Luciendo. Who you have in this one, Admire?
Well, this is another one. So this on the main card, almost all of the lower ranked people are favored. So you got Lemos ranked number 5, Lucindo ranked number 7, and Lucindo is the favorite at minus 130. Lemos is a plus 110. But I'm not going to go with the odds makers on this one. I think I'm going to ride with Amanda Lemos on this one.
Who you got, Steve?
I'll go with Lucindo. She's on a good winning streak. I think she might pull it through. I'm not sure. Lemos is a strong fighter, but Lucindo, I'll go with.
So Lemos has been trading wins and losses recently. She lost to Dern. No, she beat Dern, actually.
She beat Dern.
I remember that because that was on the 298 card. That was the one from Anaheim last year. I don't even. She lost to Whaley, but most people do. I don't even remember. Man, my memory is just shit right now. I don't remember her challenging for the title, but she was a title challenger, and she lost the John Reba her last fight. So she's been trading wins and losses recently. I mean, I'm going to go with the odds maker. I'm going to go with Lucindo in this one. I was a tiebreaker, so me and Steve have Lucindo in this one. Admire has the Lemos on this one. And I mean, as far as her training, what she has been doing the last fights, Admire might be right on this one because she's been trading wins and losses, so she's due for a win if she continues that trend. But I guess we'll see how it plays out. This one should be an interesting one. The lightweight division, we got Jalen Turner versus Ignacio Bahamondes. Who you have in this one, Admire?
This is another fight. You have Jalen Turner ranked number 13, and he's the underdog at plus 105. Ignacio is unranked and the favorite at minus 125. But I don't know, man. Ignacio is got a couple wins together, a couple knockouts. Jalen Turner, what was his last fight? He lost to Moicano, I think. But he beat Bobby Green before that. I think Jalen Turner's just the more rounded fighter, fought the better competition through his career. Yeah, I'm going to go with Jalen Turner on this one.
I mean, he's taking a lot of time off, as fighters probably should after getting TKO by Moicano. It's almost been a year since he fought, so there you go again with these fighters not fighting that often. You said he knocked out Ken Green off the hooker and Gamrot. What's the odds again, Aaron?
Jalen Turner's a plus 105 underdog, and Ignacio is minus 125. It's pretty close, but it's a little bit.
Pick 'em. Who you got in this one, Steve?
I usually go with Jalen Turner, but he hasn't been solidifying wins. And this new dude, although he's nobody significant, he don't have too many fights either. Change my mind. I'll have to go with Jalen Turner. I'll go with Jalen Turner.
Bahamondes, he's beating Manuel Torres, Christos Gigos. So not a lot of high level names. He beat Roosevelt Roberts. I remember him from that Tough Enough season. I'm gonna go with Turner as well. Like I said, he needs to start stringing together some wins that actually beat, because he was like a high prospect as far as his like earlier wins. He's lanky for that division. He seems like he's pretty good everywhere. I mean, he's like one of those jack of all trades. Like, he's not great at everything, but he's decent on the ground. Has pretty good stand up. So all three of us got Jalen Turner in this one. Moving on to the co-main event, which was supposed to be Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker had an injury. What did he break his leg or broke his ankle or something crazy?
Something with his leg. I didn't read too much into it. I just knew there was some kind of leg injury.
Did you see exactly what happened with his injury, Steve?
No, I didn't. I didn't. All I heard, he just got injured.
So I read that he had surgery when I was scrolling through the news earlier. I didn't see what kind of surgery he had to have. He had a hand injury. And so he just got surgery on his hand. That's almost the opposite of, I said knee or ankle. The opposite of that. He had a hand injury. So
then somebody had a leg injury.
Who knows?
I thought I heard leg injury.
All of these guys have some type of injury, so ain't no telling who that was that had the leg injury. But yeah, Dan Hooker is now out. In goes Rafael Fiziev in there. And is this a rematch?
It is. Yeah. They fought exactly 2 years ago. Gaethje won by decision.
Oh man, he didn't even finish him. And what are the odds in this one?
This is okay. So this is where it's interesting. Fiziev is ranked number 11. Gaethje ranked number 3. Fiziev is the favorite at minus 162. Gaethje is the underdog at plus 136. Now, I don't understand where they come up with these odds, because Fiziev lost to Gaethje and then went on to lose to Gamrot. So he has no win since they last fought. And then Gaethje, since they last fought, has beat Dustin Poirier and lost to Max Holloway. So why would the odds makers all of a sudden say, hey, you beat him last time, but now we think he's going to beat you, but he ain't beat nobody else since? Like that doesn't make sense.
Wear and tear, man. I guess they saw how Gaethje has been faring his last couple fights. Even because I guess the fluky loss to Gamrot, because that was a knee injury. Maybe they're taking that into consideration. And fight styles, they look into that as well. Even though, he's Muay Thai based, Fiziev is. I don't know, and he's younger. That's the only thing I could think of, man. I have no clue what the rhyme or reason was for the odds on this one. But you said Gaethje was a plus, what was he?
Gaethje is a plus 136.
So, and then Fiziev is a minus
162.
So it's pretty close. So it's not like, they're saying Fiziev by a landslide, but it still is peculiar.
It's Gaethje beat him the last time they fought. Fiziev has not won since they fought. Fiziev is ranked number 11 and Gaethje's ranked number 3, but he still gets the edge. It's just weird.
Definitely interesting. Man, like I said, these fights running. Gaethje knocked out Poirier by head kick. I don't even remember that. I thought for some reason I thought Poirier beat Gaethje.
He did that. I think they've fought 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah, Poirier TKO'd him in 2018. These fights all running together, and Gaethje got his get back. And it's the last time they fought, it happened while we were doing this show. So I'm gonna go back and watch that show, see what we said about that, just for shits and giggles. But yeah, as far as this fight goes, who you got, Admire?
Man, I can't go against Gaethje. I gotta take Gaethje, man. I think that he's up there for a reason. You know, he's too wild.
Okay, who you got, Steve?
I'll just go with Gaethje because he's been active. Fiziev hasn't fought since his injury, and plus, Dan Hooker got injured, so he's coming off the couch. So I think Gaethje got this one in the bag.
Oh, that's what I was going to say too. That's on top of it too. Fiziev is on short notice. It's still a favorite.
Hey, more than 9 times, like 9.9 times out of 10, Vegas know what they're talking about. So they know something about Fiziev that maybe the public doesn't know. But both of y'all have Gaethje in this one. I'm gonna go Gaethje. I have no real solid reason in my book because, like I was saying earlier, even though, like you said, Fiziev has lost twice. Vegas knows something that we don't know, and Gaethje's been getting a lot of wear and tear. I mean, he's 36, so I think this is a make or break fight for Gaethje. I'm going with him just to give him the benefit of the doubt. But if he loses this one, this might be the start of me getting off the Gaethje bandwagon. And he's already been flirting with retirement recently, hasn't he?
I think so.
Yeah. So, like I said, this will be a fight to see, what is in store for Gaethje in the future. But let's talk about the main event for this card, fellas. You have Alex Pereira, your champion, defending his light heavyweight title against Magomed Ankalaev. What are the odds on this one, Admire?
This is pretty much a pick 'em. Got Alex Pereira at -112, Ankalaev at -108. So I mean, they're as close as it gets. It's basically a pick 'em.
Who you taking in this one?
Man, I've been just thinking about this question all day, just going back and forth. I mean, not to just go down the line of all the thoughts and differences. I got to go with Ankalaev on this one.
How come?
I think that his stand-up is really good. I mean, of course, Alex's stand-up is phenomenal, but I think Ankalaev can be tricky on the feet as well. But if he gets in a situation where if he wants to, he can take it to the ground. I think that he always has that in his back pocket to go to just in case.
So Admire has Magomed Ankalaev. Who are you taking this one, Steve?
I'll go with Pereira just because we mostly seen Ankalaev on the feet. He's gotten KOs. He might be confident in his hands, but I think Pereira's strikes may be more devastating, especially that left. I think Pereira may have odds. But like Admar said, then again, has that in his back pocket to take Pereira down. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu person, so we haven't seen him too much on the ground. actually since Israel Adesanya, if I remember. Other than that, hasn't been too much tested. I think I'll go with Pierre.
Man, I'm with Admire. I've been going back and forth on this one as well. Because if it wasn't for Admire picking Ankalaev, I'd probably go with Ankalaev as well. But for some reason, my gut is telling me to go with Pereira. Because on paper, like I've looked at this matchup before this fight was even made, looking at the light heavyweight division on who could give Pereira fits, because he hasn't really faced a wrestler like that yet. And I think Magomed Ankalaev will test him on the ground. But for some reason, when people fight Pereira, the game plan goes out the window and they fight not like their normal selves. And for some reason, I think that's what's going to happen. Ankalaev has all the tools to beat Pereira, but I think something weird is going to happen where he tries to do something weird and gets caught. And I think Pereira is going to end up retaining by knockout somewhere in the middle rounds 2 through 4. But I won't be surprised if we see Ankalaev able to implement a game plan, stick to it, and able to get a decision victory and get the upset. Because like I was saying, like he's got the grappling to be able, because we haven't seen him tested. And I think that's a very strategic thing that the matchmakers have been doing, not pairing Alex Pereira against any grapplers like that. And they finally did it, because wasn't they targeting a different fight before they made this fight? I can't remember. Maybe a super fight with the heavyweight champion, or that was talks of that.
Yeah, they were talking about him going up and fighting John Jones. They were talking about Alex going back down and fighting DDP, or DDP coming up and fighting Alex. Like it was between Alex and John Jones. But yeah, I don't even think Ankalaev was really on the radar for anybody, and it just kind of happened. And that's the thing about Ankalaev, is he doesn't have any submission wins, but he's, a Dagestani combat sambo wrestler. So you haven't got to really see what his ground game is like. There's not a lot of tape on his ground game to watch. So we don't know how good it is, but we have to assume it's probably pretty good. And how does Alex prepare for something that there's not a lot of video on? So I think that ground part is a big wild card. Like bigger than I would say in a normal fight.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that's what it's gonna come down to. Whether he could do it, I guess that remains to be seen. But that's why they locked the cage behind these guys, and they'll be able to find out if he could do it this weekend. But yeah, I'm excited to see how that fight plays out, even though this card's kind of top heavy. But we'll be back next week to recap all the happenings that goes down in Las Vegas, and I will be excited to sit down on the couch and watch these fights this weekend. But make sure to follow us on all the social media platforms. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, run those numbers up. But I'll do it for us here at Haymaker Combat Sports. Until next time, be safe out there. Later.
Hit the takedown, ground and pound, that was from the top. Heel hooking, no more plot, I leave you in the knot. Pound for pound, been the greatest, sitting on the top. And I'm laughing at the fools who think they coming for the spot. You ain't got a shot, it's already mine.